South Point is also proud to provide a variety of relaxing amenities for the guests who want to be pampered. Soak up the sun and let your stress melt away in our lagoon-style paradise swimming pool. A relaxing getaway where you can bask in the desert sun and enjoy seasonal food and bar service poolside. And if you really want to escape, come to Spa Costa del Sur. From couple suites to a co-ed wet area, our spa caters to business and leisure travelers who want to unwind and elevate their senses. A visit to one of our spa's steam, sauna, or whirlpool treatment rooms will leave any guest feeling like they can take on the world. Our gaming amenities include over 60 table games and over 2,600 of the most popular slot and video poker machines. We have penny slots, including the popular Buffalo games, and real machines like Wheel of Fortune, Triple Sevens, and Megabucks. If you prefer video poker, try Deuces Wild, Double Double Bonus, or a variety of multi-denomination games. Or try your hand at one of the most popular casino table games in the world, Blackjack. Don't let the game intimidate you. Blackjack, also known as 21, is both easy and fun. And our dealers are always happy to assist. And the best part? Blackjack always pays 3 to 2. Next, check out the roulette tables. Roulette is one of the easiest casino games to learn, and so much fun to play. It's a favorite of both beginners and seasoned players. In addition to blackjack and roulette, our casino pit features over 60 popular table games like Baccarat, Pai Gow Poker, 3-Card Poker, Ultimate Texas Hold'em, and Mississippi Stud. So get out of your room and come join in the fun.
This time of year, great stuff going on. College basketball is underway. College football is now in the stretch run, and we've got the college football playoff tournament set up. There's going to be many changes in that as we go. I've got a question mark on a game that I'm going to talk about today. We've got 4 college games tonight. A big weekend of college football coming up, and we've got great shows at the South Point Studios to help you with all of those games and your handicapping. Sports by the Book, Football Frenzy, Monday, Thursday, Friday. So today, 2 to 4, Chris, Jimmy, and Vinny, Jeff Parles, they're going to take you up to a lot of action that's going to happen this weekend. They're going to talk all about the weekend action. Saturday morning, Alex White, Jeff Parles, 8 a.m., because they take you up to that first kickoff. 1 hour sports betting content. And then on Sunday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., with Jeff Parles and Alex White. Alex White, that's my daughter. We do the show Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, if I get that right. 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. for you. We talk about what's happening that day, what's going on, early part of the show to get those betting picks in for whatever sports are going on, who's playing college football, NFL, NBA, NHL, whatever it is, we get you covered there for the day. Then we go over some great stats, our rankings. We both do power rankings on the NFL, on the college football. Alex has got NHL ratings. I do the NBA, do the college basketball. So we've got you covered on all that. We give you a lot of great information on each team, their pace of play, their style of play, all very important things to know when you're betting sports. The other great shows at the South Point, Punchlines, Monday through Friday, 12 o'clock to 1. Frank Nicotero, funny show. It's great. It's comedy. And it's sports betting content. It's sports all the way. Love that show. Gone Racing on Thursdays. We just missed it. That's a 10 a.m. show on Thursdays. Check out Gone Racing. And then Race Day Vegas. Ralph Sirocco, Wednesday to Sunday. Ralph's on at 7 a.m. Bright and early for the horse players. So catch all those great shows, South Point Studios. All right. And don't forget the parlay card. The parlay card's coming up. The College Rivalry Jackpot Parlay card at the South Point. It's got all the rivalries. You've got 15 games to pick. A grand prize of $25,000 guaranteed. $25,000. It's $5 a card. If they generate more money than 25,000, you're going to get that as well. It's guaranteed, though, 25,000. You make a selection on all 15 games, no point spreads. Just pick the winner. It's easy as that. Get your 25,000. Get into the South Point. Get into the contest. You can't win unless you enter. All right, here we go. College football today. 4 games tonight. I got a question for the College Football Playoff Committee on one of them. Should be amazing. We'll talk about that game first. First out of the chute, Wyoming is at Colorado State. I'll bring up my Spank Odds screen and make sure I've got all the current lines from the South Point today. I know the crew does. Thanks for the crew. Thanks, you guys, as always. I know Ann and Sean are there. I think Ryan's probably there, maybe Vince. I appreciate you guys so much. You do a great job there helping us get on YouTube and up and out to the general public, that everybody's listening, getting great information from us. Hopefully it's great information. Like and subscribe. If you do like it, please like and subscribe what you're saying today. Wyoming at Colorado State at the South Point. Colorado State opened 10.5, has been bet down to 9. The total 47.5, down to 46.5 now, or 46 flat. I'm sorry, 46. Wyoming at Colorado State. So interesting. 10.5 down to 9. 47.5 down to 46. It's a big rivalry. This is a Mountain West Conference game, but these two teams are only about an hour and a half away apart. So they're huge rivalry right on the border of Wyoming and Colorado. They play for the bronze boot. Anytime you play for a trophy, you know it's a big game. Wyoming has won the last 2 years, 24-15 last year at home, and 14-13 in 2022 at Colorado State. Jay Norville has been at Colorado State 2 years. He is 0-2 in the rivalry. This will be a big game for them. But not just tonight's game, a big game. Overall picture. Colorado State 6-3 overall, but 4-0 in the Mountain West Conference. They host Wyoming, they go to Fresno State, and then they host Utah State. Really looks like this team can run the table. They'll be 9-3, 7-0 in the conference, and they will play Boise State for the Mountain West Conference Championship. Boise State's name is written in the college football playoff. They're undefeated. They have one loss. They lost to Oregon earlier this year in a really close game. But if Colorado State was to upset Boise State and win the Mountain West Conference, undefeated in the conference, and to beat Boise State, to basically go 8-0 in Mountain West Conference games, does Colorado State get in the college football playoff? I would be shocked if they did. I have them rated a 99. A 100 is my average college football rating. South Dakota State, as I handicap the FCS schools, and I know how big they are, how strong they are, how fast they are. South Dakota State's been the powerhouse in the FCS for several years now. North Dakota State had a nice run of almost 12 years, I think, that they were either winning it or in the championship game. Now it's South Dakota State. But those other schools are still pretty good. North Dakota State's really good. North Dakota's good. South Dakota's good. It's amazing. All 4 of those teams, very good football teams. But South Dakota State, if they were to play Colorado State tomorrow, I would make South Dakota State a 10-point favorite over Colorado State on a neutral field. Let's don't even talk about if Mississippi played Colorado State. Well, I guess we should. I just brought it up. If Mississippi played Colorado State tomorrow on a neutral, they would be a 24-point favorite. Because of the record, I don't know if it's a possibility or not. I have no idea. But can you imagine if Colorado State was 10-3 and 8-0 in Mountain West Conference games if they got in? Today's game, what's going to happen tonight? I made Colorado State 9-47. A lot of incentive for Colorado State. Teams that are in this situation do run up scores. Jay Norville's 0-2 against Wyoming. I watched this guy coach at Nevada several times, and he ran up scores there. I watched games that I was pleasantly surprised because I had the game over, that he was still passing in the fourth quarter with a lead, big lead. He will run up scores if he can get the lead in this game. Now, will he or not? Jay Sawvell is the head coach of Wyoming. He's first-year head coach. He was the defensive coordinator at Wyoming the last 4 years. He's kept the same offense, the power run game, slow, methodical football, try to play defense. And I say try because they lost a lot of players. This was not a very good football team. I have them 118th in the country, 124th offense, 120th defense, a 94.5 rating. They performed to a 92.5, below what I have them rated. But they have played much better football the last 5 games. They are 4-1 ATS over the last 5. That's all Mountain West Conference games. Air Force, San Diego State, San Jose State, Utah State, New Mexico. Now, I will say not one of those teams are over 100 rating. The performance rating for Wyoming in those games, a 95. A 95. They're a 94.5 rating. So they've actually now started to perform to who they are in conference. I think that's what we get out of them tonight. Colorado State is a 99 rating. They're 102nd best team in the country. Could be in the college football playoff. Oh, my gosh. They performed to a 98 rating over the last 5 games. And one of those was Oregon State. That was probably the best team they've played. The best team they played this year was Colorado. And they were competitive. They lost 28-9. We know how good Colorado is. Colorado should be in the college football playoff the way they're playing, but I don't think Colorado's a top 12 team. So that was the best game they played, the most difficult team they played, and they were competitive. Wyoming on the other side, the top teams they played, I'm going to say it, Idaho from the FCS, who's very, very good, strong defensive team. Wyoming lost at home 17-13, obviously did not cover. And then they lost to BYU at home, 34-14, lost by 20, did not cover that. But again, Jay Swavel's team is 4-1 ATS, their last 5, and they're only 2 wins. They're 2-7 on the year, no bowl games. This is their Super Bowl right here. And it's a good reason why I bet against them last week in New Mexico. They lost to Utah State the week before that, who's horrible. And that dropped their out of bowl eligibility. And then I knew they were playing Colorado State the next week. I thought for sure Wyoming was dead. They win 49-45 against a good coach in Bronco Mendenhall. So I have no idea. This team is improving, I guess. I don't know how they couldn't beat Utah State, though. That was the shocker for me. At home. Surprised they didn't beat San Diego State, but both those games were close. They were within a score. They lost 27-24 to San Diego State, 27-25 to Utah State. Now, Colorado State, have they run up scores? Jay Norville played against his old team last week in Nevada. He was at Reno. They won 38-21. They won. They covered. Not sure if they ran the score up, but that was a nice game. They beat New Mexico 17-6 at home, beat them by 11. Just don't think he has the offense to run scores up. Their median score, 24-21 on the season. Median score for Wyoming, they lose 17-27. That's right in line with this point spread. The game, 10.5 down to 9, big rivalry game. The revenge factor, I usually don't give points to the home team for revenge factor. They're playing at home. I'm already giving them 5 points for playing at home. So my number's right there. Your guess is as good as mine. I will give you this on the trend on Jay Norville, which I'm kind of shocked at. Since he's been at Colorado State, 22-9-1 to the under. 22-9-1 to the under. That cannot be ignored. And that includes this year where he's 5-2-1 to the under. Did go over his last game, the game against Nevada. His quarterback, Braden Fowler, Nicolosi, has had a decent year and had a nice game against Nevada. That was their tied for their highest scoring game of the year. They scored 38 against Northern Colorado earlier in the year. Northern Colorado is a huge under team, not a very good scoring team. That game did go over. So Wyoming has gone over 5 of their last 7 games, and it's mainly because of the defense. But my total's strong at 47. Sorry. I went over that quite a bit extensively in that football game, and I can't give you a play. Again, my guess is as good as yours. It is a rivalry. I think Colorado State's the better team. They're playing for a lot, but if Wyoming could beat them, they will. If you're a conspiracy theorist, maybe the Mountain West Conference is going to call a lot of penalties against Wyoming in this game, and Colorado State covers easily. That could happen. They would love to see Colorado State undefeated playing Boise State undefeated in the Mountain West Conference game. And the way it stacks up, they're probably going to see it anyway. North Texas, Texas San Antonio tonight, American Athletic Conference game. North Texas 5-4 on the year. Texas San Antonio 4-5. Both teams 2-3 in the American Athletic. I made this game Texas San Antonio 4.5 and 71, and for sure I thought I had an overplay, but no. When you look at the line, everyone was too smart. Circa opened 72.5. They sitting right there. South Point opened 72.5, sitting right there. Now both the South Point and the Circa opened North Texas the favorite -2. We're looking at -1 now on the home team, Texas San Antonio, at the South Point. Money line -$1.20. Again, I made it 4.5. However, there is a revenge factor for North Texas. They lost last year at home, 37-29. Texas San Antonio had Frank the Tank Harris, and that's why they were so good for Jeff Traylor. For a couple of years in a row, he had one of the better quarterbacks in college football. And they beat North Texas in Denton. So there is a revenge factor. I can drop my number down to 2. I take 20% off my favorites, a half a point. We're basically at 1.5 is what I would make that game. So again, nothing there in this one. 2 really good quarterbacks. The one thing I thought about on my show this morning, Bet the Gambit, and I talked about this game, maybe it starts slow. Maybe these two go through a slow first quarter and they don't put up a lot of points and the first quarter goes under. It might not be a bad time to jump in to bet the game over. If you can get over 65 or less, I think you got a good play because these two quarterbacks can really put points on the board. You don't have to worry about weather. It's a dome in San Antonio and it's a fast track and they score points. Texas San Antonio's median score on the year, 28-30, but if you just take their 5 AAC games, 38-30 in those games, that's 68 points. You're right there in the total. North Texas, every game included, all their entire season, 9 games, the median score is North Texas 41, their opponent 37, 78 points is their median game. I feel like I got a bad total at 71. I really do with the way these two teams play. But I'm going to bet this in game. I'm going to be fascinated watching this early and hope it starts slow like that NFL game did last night, Philadelphia and Washington. They got going in the second half. They put up a big number in the fourth quarter. I think 28 points or 26 points was scored just in the fourth quarter alone with 2 great quarterbacks. Can't understand how it started so slow, but that's how some games start, especially when they're games that have meaning, which that Wyoming and Colorado State game could really start slow as well. North Texas and Texas San Antonio, I'm guessing about 7 hours away by car. It's a plane flight, Denton, Texas to San Antonio. There's 350 miles in between is my guess. But being from the state of Texas, I still think they could be somewhat of a rivalry, especially being in the American Athletic together. I don't know how many other teams are from Texas in the American Athletic. And if they're the only two, that becomes their big rivalry game. So we'll go with that's a rivalry. UCLA and Washington tonight. UCLA, Deshaun Foster, 10 years as the assistant there at UCLA, running back coach, gets the job. I'm surprised he was never the offensive coordinator, just never got the job. There was a guy named Jed Fish who was an offensive coordinator there while Deshaun Foster was there. And Jed Fish is now the head coach at Washington. These guys know each other very, very well. They may be good friends. But Deshaun Foster would love to beat Jed Fish. And he would love to get back to 500 at 5-5 and get a bowl game. His team is 6-1 ATS their last 7. Deshaun Foster has UCLA playing really good football. And I've been betting UCLA. I told you last week, bet them against Iowa. I think I told you on this show, bet them against Nebraska. I might have had them against Rutgers. I'm not sure. I do like Rutgers, and I do have a high power rating on them. I don't recall betting the game, but I think I was on them against Minnesota. That was a loser, though. At home, they lost 21-17. I think we lost by a point. They lost the turnover battle by 3, but I think I was on them against Penn State. I've been on UCLA quite a bit because I like what I've seen. They're my 70th best, 70 on offense, 52nd ranked defense, 62 overall, 108 rating. Performance rating, a 114. And you know what? They started slow. They lost. They actually didn't lose. They didn't cover. In Hawaii against the Rainbow Warriors, they won 16-13 the first game of the year. I bet Hawaii in that one. I was all over Hawaii. The next week, I think I bet them against. I think I bet UCLA against Indiana, and they got crushed. At home in Pasadena, they lost 42-13. That was with a week off after the Hawaii game, so it wasn't anything to do with travel. And then they got beat up by UCLA, LSU. UCLA got beat by LSU. Then they got beat up by Oregon. Then they got beat up by Penn State. Then they lost to Minnesota, but they were much more competitive, and then they've won 3 in a row to put themselves in bowl contention. At 1-5, it didn't look like they were going to a bowl. So they're playing well. 108 rating, 114 performance. Washington Jetfish. Again, 3 years at Arizona before this job. Did a nice job at Arizona. Built that program up, did a good job there. He's been an offensive coordinator at UCLA, as I mentioned, Michigan and Miami of Florida. Well regarded in the offensive guru world. He's got a really good quarterback. 2 good quarterbacks in this game. And I told you, I was talking up UCLA, and I've been betting on UCLA. But I made Washington here 11-53. And it's, they're not done anything in stretches of good results. Their season's kind of been choppy, like a good game, bad game, good game, bad game, good game, bad game. And they're coming off a bad one. They just lost in Penn State last week, 35-6. I'm not playing that good game, bad game theory. I'm just going off my power ratings. And Washington's 11. Washington's 5.5 points better. I've got 5.5 point home for that home field. That's 11. There's no revenge factor. These teams didn't play last year. They did play in 2020. UCLA won 40-32. So nothing there. This is an 11-point game to me. Washington, 63 on offense, slightly better than UCLA. 27th best defense in the country. Remember, this team played for the national championship last year. This is a talented program. They did lose a lot of players, but they still got a talented team. Michael Penix Jr. is gone, but Will Rogers has had a great year, and he's a really good quarterback. The drop-off isn't huge. And they still have a great defense, as I said, 27th in the country, 34th overall, 113.5 rating. Their performance rating, 117.5. They've overperformed what I have them rated at. So I have to stick with my ratings and trust my ratings in this game. I'm betting on Washington tonight. This game opened up 3, and I think at the South Point, opened up 3.5, but they are up to 4. 4 is pretty much the market number. I do see 4.5s out there. I think you're going to see some money for Washington in this game. So I'm on Washington, laid a little better price, but I still think at -4 is a good one. I made the total 53 at the South Point, opened 46.5 up to 47. I see it as an over. The trends do not say that, though. Washington this year, I'm going overs. 2 overs, 8 unders. So switch it around. 8-2 to the under this year is Washington under Jed Fish. Got a good quarterback. I guess it's that defense. And they just haven't put up the points, but they played the strength of schedule for both teams is ridiculous. They have played such a tough schedule. Washington played 2 cupcakes early on in Weber State and Eastern Michigan, but since then, rivalry game against Washington State, Northwestern. Those teams are just barely better than average, though. But then it got tough. Rutgers, very good. Michigan, Iowa, Indiana, USC, and Penn State. It just continued to get better week in and week out. Now they have a little bit of a drop-off in the talent they've been playing by playing UCLA. So I like it. I like Washington. The total, trying to figure that out, though. I made it 53. It is a game I already bet over 46.5. I didn't see the trend when I bet it over. I don't bet trends. I just use them for information to talk about. They scare me sometimes, and I will adjust to a trend when I see a trend that big. UCLA has been an under team as well this year, 6-3 to the under. So not as much value on the total for me. It's a 1% play on the over. And this is another game that could start slow. Instead of betting it over the pre-flop line, wait till in game. Wait till the game starts, and maybe they start slow and it's 3-0 at the end of the first quarter, and now you're going over 40, 38.5 maybe. Who knows how low it drops. But I did bet Washington, and I bet a 2% play on Washington. Better play for me. Houston and Arizona tonight. Willie Fritz, Brent Brennan for Arizona. Kind of interesting, both head coaches new to their school this year. Willie Fritz new to Houston, Brennan new to Arizona. Both coached at their previous school for a pretty long time to prove themselves. Willie Fritz, 8 years at Tulane, Brennan, 7 years at San Jose State. Houston, or Willie Fritz with Houston, when he was at Tulane, he was 32 and 44. 32 and 44 his first 6 years. Upside down. And they stuck with him. They didn't let him go. I think they knew what they had. I think they knew they had a really good head coach. And Willie Fritz went 22 and 4 the last 2 years. And his team keeps getting better and better and better. I got to give you my line first. I made Arizona 7. Actually, I made it 8.5 is on my sheet. My numbers say 8.5, but I like to take off 20% off my favorites, and I've knocked that down to about 7. Total 45. South Point opened this game, Arizona 2, and there was money for Houston down to 1.5. The total 44.5 up to 47 at the South Point. Now, I told you I made Arizona 7. It was 2, went down to 1.5. I did bet Arizona. I only bet a 1% play, and these are my favorite plays. Whenever I make somebody a touchdown or more, and I can lay a field goal or less, if you give me 100 of those, I'm going to cash 65 tickets. There's no doubt in my mind. This is a 15% play. This is a really strong play for me. I only bet 2% on it, though, for the fact that I'm going up against a great coach in Willie Fritz. I think he's a great coach. And the reason why I look at this game and I think about, have I not upgraded Houston fast enough? They've scared me because they don't score points. Their median score on the entire year, all games, 14-19. This offense has just struggled. Donovan Smith couldn't get him in the end zone. Zeon Chris couldn't get him in the end zone. They've had 2 high-scoring games. They scored 33 against Rice. I had them that game. And they scored 30 against TCU. I had them that game. So I've got it. Houston rated well. I bet on them 2 games. I looking at this defense, though. The defense has been good all year. I wish I would have had them against Oklahoma. They looked so bad against UNLV, though I couldn't bet them. But Oklahoma looked at the same game, and Oklahoma didn't even prepare for Houston and barely got by at home. 16-12 was like a 24-point favorite. Houston was an easy cover. And that's why I bet Houston the next week, because they impressed me then. But then they were shut out 2 weeks in a row, scored the 30 against TCU and won the game. They have won 3 of their last 4. They've covered 3 of their last 4. And during that time, they beat TCU, Utah, and Kansas State. The upset against Kansas State's amazing. They were a 1-4 football team, and now they're 4-5. They're playing Willie Fritz football, defense. My total 45. Again, it's 47 at the South Point. Arizona's been a little weaker defensively, and I have them the weaker defensive team. Arizona's been outscored 22-31 on the median for the season, and they've failed to cover 5 straight games now. I got a feeling, though, Brent Brennan doesn't recruit kids that quit, and I just don't think they quit. They're 3-6. They need 3 wins to be bowl eligible. I think the team will play hard. They did not last week. They were horrendous at Central Florida. They lost 56-12. Lost a tough home game to West Virginia, 31-26. I had West Virginia in that game. They lost to Colorado, 34-7. I actually had Colorado in that game. They lost to BYU on the road, 41-19. I believe I had Arizona there. I have a 3.5-point difference in the power rating, 5 points for that home field in Arizona. May not be worth the 5 points. Houston is overachieved. I have a 106 rating and a 111 performance rating. Arizona, 109.5, performance rating of 108. So they barely underachieved, barely. The 105 performance rating the last 5 games. That's the one thing I don't like. But these type of plays have won for me 65% of the time, laying less than a field goal when I make the game a touchdown or more. So I'm on Arizona tonight, 2%. Not crazy about it, but that's my process. I make my own lines. I make my own power ratings. I adjust after every game. I've adjusted both of these teams for 9 games this year. And I make a line and I check what the book's line is and then I bet it. And that's my process. So I'm sticking with it. That's what I got tonight in college football. So really Washington, I think, is my best bet tonight. Over in the Washington game. Arizona. And then the other 2 games I had really nothing on. I will look to play over in-game on North Texas and Texas San Antonio. NBA, let's go through this. We might go rapid fire here this morning on the the NBA. I got one college basketball game for you I want to go over. Alabama plays Purdue tonight. That should be a great game. All right, Philadelphia at Orlando tonight. Embiid and George back in the lineup. I made this game Orlando 2.5 and 199.5. The total opened 214. That's at Circa, bet down to 209. South Point opened 213.5, down to 209. Not sure if all the value's been taken out of the line or not, but these 2 teams I both have below average in pace. And I got Orlando's defense off the charts as strong as they've been playing, and Philadelphia's offense has really struggled. The side is right now at the South Point, -2 on the home team, Orlando. So little lean there. Miami at Indiana. I have Indiana 2.5, 222. The line at the South Point right now, Indiana 4.5 and 228. Again, a little lean to the under there. Both these teams are playing below average pace. Believe it or not, the Pacers are not running. And Miami has struggled a little bit offensively. No Jimmy Butler. Nurkic, who's now filling in for Butler, is a far better defensive player and has none of the skills that Butler has offensively. You also have the injuries for Indiana still with Naismith and Nebhart out. Nebhart's a really important piece to that offense. So wait till they get all their guys back to start betting Indiana over. I am under there in that game today. We go to the next one, Detroit at Toronto. Rivalry game. I have Detroit 2.5, 214.5. Very important to know injuries. Manuel quickly was out for Toronto early in the year, and then he returned, and he played a couple games, and he did. Toronto played very well because he's a very good guard, and they don't have a backup to really fill in for him. He's re-injured. He is out tonight, 3.5 points off the rating, and that's why I have Detroit the favorite, and that's why the line has moved in that direction. South Point opened Detroit 1. They are now -2. That total 224. I only made it 214.5. When you got a point guard like quickly out of the lineup, and Barnes is out, one of their best scorers, that hurts scoring. I know this team likes to try to push the pace a little bit. It's their defense that's really created over games for them this year. They are 7-4 to the over, but Detroit 8-3 to the under this year. It helps back up my underplay there. So like that one a lot. Washington and Atlanta. If you like offense, here we go. This is going to be a good offensive game. Hunter is back and Young is back for the Hawks. I made the Atlanta Hawks 9.5, 245. They opened up 9 at the Circa, 8.5 at the South Point. South Point currently at 9.5. And the total was bet up at the South Point, 238 to 241.5. Surprise, surprise. I made it 245. Again, 2 of the faster teams in the NBA, both well above average on pace, both well below average on defense. So offense points will be available in this game. The Atlanta Hawks average game this year scoring. They average 116. They allow 121. That's 237. The Washington Wizards score 110 and allow 123. So both teams allowing over 120 points a game. This is another one maybe in game. If it starts slow, don't worry, folks. The defense will disappear. So if guys aren't hitting shots early, this could be a good in game to jump on the over. The Knicks, 11, I made them, and 211.5. Line pretty close right now at the South Point. This is, remember, a rivalry game. South Point, 9.5, 215.5, right on the number, basically. Chicago at Cleveland. Remember, this is an undefeated Cleveland team still, but they've lost 3 straight by the spread. And the Cleveland Cavaliers, I have 11.5, 237.5, and the line pretty much right there at the South Point right now, 10 and 238.5. There you go, right on the screen. Lakers at Spurs tonight. I have the Spurs a half-point favorite, 230.5. You know the love affair I have with the Spurs and Wembanyama. This will be a big game for him to see what he can do against Davis and LeBron. We'll see if he can pull it out tonight. I'm taking the points. I am on the Spurs tonight, plus the 3.5. Phoenix at Oklahoma City. Beal is out. Durant is out. We know Holmgren's out for a while. I have Oklahoma City 9 and 226.5. They are currently 7.5 and 227.5. Clippers at Houston. The Rockets, I have 5.5, 205.5. Van Vliet is back. I know when I say 205.5, I know I have to have an underplay, and I do. Right now, the Rockets 4.5 and 214.5. I'm going to go under in that game tonight. The Clippers, both teams, 7 and 4 to the under so far this season. And the pace, both very slow. They're both in the bottom half of pace. Both have excellent defensive ratings. So that's a solid underplay for me tonight in the Clippers-Houston game. 3 more NBA games. Denver at New Orleans tonight. New Orleans decimated with injuries. You got to know the players' values. Gordon is out for Denver. Their power forward, who's their defensive intimidator. But the Pelicans, no Murray, no Williamson, no McCollum, no Jones, and now add Jose Alvarado to the mix. Say, Jose Alvarado, could he be worth anything to the betting line? Yeah, if his backup is Brandon Boston Jr., it's a 3-point drop-off, and I was being generous. I am not generous, but conservative. I could have really said it was worth 4.5. Pelicans rating has dropped to an 87.5, the weakest team in the NBA. I have a 14-point difference between these two teams. I have Denver 11 and 214. The line just 4.5 shocks me. I love Denver here, and I love the game under. Pelicans do not have a team that can stand up to what the Denver Nuggets roll out on the floor. Are the Denver Nuggets a team that's motivated to play these type of games? We'll see. They're in New Orleans. Hope they're not on Bourbon Street. Memphis at Golden State. The Warriors, I made 5 and 228.5. They're 7.5, 236.5. I lean to the under here, but they're getting scoring and firepower back for Memphis tonight. Desmond Bane back in the lineup. Smart's going to be back. The only guy out is Ja Morant. He's not returning yet. But this is a really good basketball team, especially when Morant's on the court, as well as Golden State having a super season and having a very nice run right now. The average scoring of this game, my cross-reference score is 231.5. But that's a lot of games without a lot of firepower for Memphis. Now, who knows how they respond with Bane and Smart coming back into the lineup. We know the pace will be fast. Memphis likes to run. But both these teams have very good defenses. So I'm willing to go under the total, even though the steam moved it that high. Right now at the South Point, 236. That just might be a little bit high, and I do lean to the underdog in this game. But again, I'm not sure of the rust for Desmond Bane and Marcus Smart. So we'll have to figure that out. I lean to Memphis, not betting it, but I will bet the under because I'm hoping those guys are a little rusty. Last game of the night, Minnesota at Sacramento. No DeMar DeRozan tonight for Sacramento. He's out, but he's 35 years old. He's still valued in the betting line, though, 2 points to the betting line. And I made this game Sacramento 3.5, 220.5. Minnesota's the favorite, 1.5, 222. I like the underdog there. I'll take the Kings plus the 1.5. College basketball tonight, one big game, and I'll get you out of here and on your way into the betting window. You know what you have to bet on already in college football. I just gave you the NBA, where we need to go. Remember, manage your money. Manage your money correctly. Always stay within that 1%, 2% range, and you're never over betting. If you want to step out and bet at 3%, that's not bad, because most people say your average bet should be 2.5% of your bankroll. So if you're betting 1% and 2%, you're being very conservative, which you need to be. You bet more when you get on a hot streak. Alabama and Purdue will be a very good game. I'm going to take a quick drink out of the Donald Duck coffee cup today. Usually it's Starbucks, and my daughter Alex orders me a coffee on the way to the South Point. That's my favorite 3 days of the week is when I get to spend time with my daughter at the South Point, 9 to 10 a.m. Again, Chris Andrews and Jimmy, Vinny, and everybody, thanks for making that possible. It's my 3 most fun days of the week. I look forward to Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays there at the South Point, 9 to 10 a.m. You can catch us both. Alabama, Purdue. All right, I got to check out where the South Point line is. They probably got it on the screen for me. Yes, they do. Alabama, 2.5, 64.5. My number on this game, Alabama 2. We're right there on the side. My side's been really tight this year. My total, 179. Man, I've got a high total on this game. But Alabama loves to run. They love to run. Nate Oates is the head coach there. He is in his 6th year. Came from Buffalo. When he was at Buffalo, he played a pressing, up-tempo style that people like to watch and kids like to play for. And he did very well at Buffalo. He gets the job at Alabama. He had a first year was a learning curve. Second year, they had an amazing team. Third year was a drop-off for some reason. But his 4th and 5th year, he won 31 games and 25 games. Only 2 returning starters this year. And a lot of people thought he was the best team in the country because of Mark Sears, their point guard. And he's really not even a point guard. Mark's a shooting guard in a point guard's body. 21 points a game last year, 4.2 rebounds, 4 assists. So far this year, 18 points a game, 3.7 rebounds, 2.7 assists. He's played less minutes a game this year than he did last year because Nate Oates is a smart guy. No need to play him in games that don't mean anything. This game means something. You're going to see Sears on the court for 34 or 35 minutes in this game. You're going to see all the starters in. Purdue. And again, Alabama does play good defense. Nate Oates has had some very good defensive teams, but their offense is top 5. Their defense is top 15. On the other side of the ball, and the other thing about Alabama is they play a 4-guard lineup basically most of the time. LeBron Philbin's their point guard, or Philon. He's their point guard. Latrell Wright's another shooting guard. But they like to go 4 guards with a center, and that's the way they play. And that leads to up-tempo, high-scoring basketball games. This game could get off to a slow start because these offenses aren't used to seeing defenses this good early in the year. So, again, another game probably to wait in-game, and you can get over 155, 156. You'll be thanking me on Monday. Purdue, the pace for Alabama is 72 under Nate Oates. The pace at Purdue under Matt Painter, who's been there 19 years now, is a 65. His teams don't run. They don't run, but they are very efficient on offense. They have been. His teams have always been better offensively than the defensive ends. Every once in a while, he comes with a great defensive team. But more than not, Purdue is better on the offensive end than they are on the defensive end. And I see this game going up-tempo. I'm going to look last year. I haven't done this yet, but I wanted to look at their home games and see the scores against good teams that run. Xavier, they hosted. They won 83-71 last year, 154. Gonzaga, they played on a neutral. Tennessee a neutral. Marquette a neutral. All those games were lower. The Marquette game was the highest, and they were the fastest-paced team. That came 153. Home against Iowa, who loves to run like Alabama. 155. They blew them out, though. They won by 19, and that's the reason why that game stayed under. They did play Alabama on a neutral last year. They beat them 92-86. That's one thing I did not factor into my my program. Only looks for home and away games. It doesn't look for neutral games, and I just found it. I've got to add 2.5 points for Alabama having a revenge from losing last year. I'll make it 4.5 on Alabama. I may play Alabama on the money line here. Purdue's a tough place to play at, though, and Matt Painter's a heck of a coach. But so's Nate Oates. This could be another game with swings in it. If Purdue goes up early, 6, 7, 8 points, jump on Alabama. They're coming back. They have the talent. They're going to be here. They are the better team. We'll see how they play on the road, though. First true road game. Those are always difficult. Home game, neutral home against Arizona, who ran last year, came 176. Oh, and by the way, that Alabama game on a neutral came 178. I'm not too far off on my total when I talk about this and look at home teams that they play that run. Looking at a lot of the Big Ten. I'm in Big Ten play now, and the teams they play in the Big Ten last year are very slow. None of them come nowhere near the pace of those fast teams at the beginning of the year. The fastest team they played was Rutgers, and they're not very fast, and they beat them at home 96-68. That came 164, right on this total. So I've got enough games. That Alabama game last year was 178, and they hosted Arizona, and that game came 176. The one game against Iowa, who's really similar to this game, they beat them by 19, though. And if they don't beat them by 19, that game's probably in the mid-160s to 170. So I like it over. I'm betting it over for the game pre-flop for 1%, only because it's an over. I'm betting Alabama on the money line for 1%. And I'm going to look in-game for this one as well. If it gets off to a slow start, I'm going to jump in over. If I can get anything under 160, I'm going to go over there. And anytime I got a 10-point difference in a total like this, if I see it at 155 or less, I'm jumping in for a 2% play on those type of bets. Those are some really good bets. So thanks a lot. If you like what you saw, please like and subscribe here. Sports by the Book. I'm Kenny White. I'll be back on Monday, but Jeff Parles and Alex White will be back tomorrow at 8 a.m. for you here at South Point Studios. So guys, have a great Friday night, a great weekend. I'll catch back up with you on Monday morning.